Why do people believe their own lies even after the evidence says otherwise? Very often, they begin by bending reality for advantage, for ego, for self-protection, or for belonging. But after a while, the line between performance and belief starts to blur. The story they first told to persuade others becomes the story they now use to persuade themselves. That is why some people can look straight at evidence, dismiss it, ignore the contradictions, and still sound utterly sincere. What's happened is that they have neurologically and psychologically invested in their own narrative. To that add the fact that HeBrain is not a truth machine. It is, before all else, a survival machine. Its job is not merely to collect facts like a data analyst, but rather to protect the self, maintain coherence, reduce distress, preserve social standing, and help us keep functioning in the world. So when a fact threatens identity status, belonging, or moral self-image, the brain does not always welcome that fact as useful information. It can process it as danger. This is where motivated reasoning comes in. Motivated reasoning is what happens when reason stops acting like a judge and starts acting like a lawyer. It does not ask what is true. It asks, how do I defend the version of reality that protects me? The next layer is cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is the discomfort we feel when two things collide inside us. I am a good and competent person versus the evidence suggests I was wrong, reckless, dishonest, or foolish. That tension is psychologically painful. So the brain looks for relief. Sometimes the relief comes through repentance and correction. But often, especially in high ego or performative environments, the relief comes through rationalization. We minimize, reinterpret, and move goalposts. We attack the messenger. We invent context that saves our self-image. This is why confrontation with evidence does not always produce humility. Sometimes it produces escalation. When deeply held beliefs are challenged, regions in the brain associated with threat, salience, and emotion become more active, especially when the challenged belief is tied to identity. That's why some people react to contradiction not as correction, but as attack. So, when a person is shown receipts and still doubles down, what you may be witnessing is not a simple information or messaging failure, but an identity protection mechanism at work. The evidence is not only threatening their argument, but their self-concept, their status in the group, the image of their own competence, maybe even the story on which their identity or authority has been built. Under those conditions, the mind can become less like a meaning-making tool and more like a protective gear. Finally, there is the memory layer. Memory is not just a recording device. It is reconstructive. Each time we recall an event, we are not just replaying a video. We are rebuilding a story. That means memory can be reshaped by emotion, repetition, suggestion, and self-protective interpretation. So recollection is vulnerable to distortion, and repeated denial or fabrication can even alter later memory of what actually happened. So lying is not a clean split between truth and falsehood. Repeated self-serving narration can slowly colonize memory. A person may no longer experience himself as lying in the ordinary sense. He experiences himself as defending what really happened, even when evidence suggests otherwise. Putting it all of this together, a person says something self-serving. Then their ego gets attached to it. Then their group rewards it. Then contradiction arrives and creates dissonance. Then the brain experiences threat. Then reason gets recruited for defense. Then the story is repeated until familiarity begins to masquerade as truth. then memory itself becomes less reliable. At that stage, you are no longer dealing with a simple lie, but a neurologically protected narrative. And this is where the confidence trap becomes so dangerous in public life, because institutions often mistake sincerity for truth. A person who lies clumsily looks suspicious, but a person who is fused with his own falsehood can sound calm, righteous, and utterly convinced. That performance reads to many people as authenticity, yet sincerity is not proof nor confidence evidence. This is why our politics, religion, companies, and civic spaces are so vulnerable to the confidently wrong. So what do we do? In my book, The Confidence Trap, I present empirically evidenced remedies against these tendencies. My name is Vezi. I am the author of The Confidence Trap. In this book, I explore how we can create a society where truth matters over theater,